Go ahead.
All right. Excellent. Well, I'm glad to be here with you today, Sam. I usually start out sessions with a win. So trying to sort of start with something that's exciting and something that's lit you up recently.
I got a new app to advertise with called Adobe Premiere Pro.
Oh, nice. That's excellent. Is that like a Photoshop type thing that you have to design the advertisements, or do they do other things not graphic related?
That's Adobe Photoshop, but this is Premiere Pro that does videos.
Okay, totally different thing.
Yeah. You're on the same planet though,
Great.
just in a different world.
All right. Excellent. Great. And so does that lights you up because what's meaningful to you about that?
It's meaningful to me because I get to expand my broadcasting skills and promote more in a way where it's not just you hearing my voice, but actually seeing me. I don't have to be John Cena literally and saying you can't see me.
Excellent. Well, I'm really glad you got that. And that's a big step to like increase, your capacity to do things like that. How does that make you feel? What does that tell you about yourself that you took that step to get that program working for yourself?
That I'm a go-getter, and my ADHD might be a little more hypnotized on that.
So you're saying you're a little bit hyper focused on the on
Oh,
the
not a little bit
program.
hyper-focused, a lot of hyper-focused. But that also comes with the
Uh-huh.
autism I have.
Yeah. So, what does that where do you want to what do you want to talk about today? Is hyper focus a issue that you often want to work on, or what
Well,
what
I
what
think
works
in the
for you?
questionnaire you sent me, one of the things that I stated was my ADHD sometimes gets me frazzled, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes me bleh, terrible at multitasking.
Mm.
And something I didn't mention on that questionnaire is my ADHD also, as you may or may not be able to tell, makes me talk extremely fast.
Okay. And in your career where you're speaking publicly, how does that affect you there?
Yes, because I have been told I'm a great speaker, but the one kicker that I get most often is he talks way too fast. He's at points very not understandable.
Okay. So I think both of those things, sort of surprisingly, I think are a little bit related. I think they may have a little bit to do with learning how to um, take a pause and um, think intentionally about what you're doing. Um, what does that, when I say learning how to take a pause and think intentionally, how does that feel? Does that ring any bells or like, oh yeah, maybe that would be helpful to me? Or is that,
I would love to take a pause and stop at the stop signs, but I'm not trying to be a jerk when I say this. I don't know how. Like, I'm
right,
being
right?
100% honest with you. I do not know how to literally, hit the brakes on the car. And I would love
Hmm.
some advice, strategies, tips, tricks. Show me
Sure.
something.
So you're like Ned Hallowell's metaphor. I don't know if you've heard of it. A Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes. Your brain is a Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes.
Oh, I have not heard of that before.
It sounds like you came up with it on your own separately. So pretty much.
Looks like I
Um
did.
yeah. So yeah, it's something that ADHDers really struggle with is figuring out how to take a stop and pause and breathe and sort of move forward in a more intentional way instead of more impulsively just going for it, right? Um, So we're talking about two different issues that I think have, some of the same mechanics going with them. Which one would you say is more of a challenge for you?
Okay, I know the first option was the fast one. You also remind me, and this is ADHD kicking in. What was the second one?
So let's see, talking fast and having a hard time multitasking.
Um, I would say multitasking.
Okay. So I'm going to take off my ADHD hat for a second and talk a little bit about multitasking as sort of a, I don't know, consultant or educator, and ADHD and multitasking. So, and everybody thinks that multitasking is the way to get more things done faster. And I can also tell you that nobody gets more things done faster when they're multitasking. What do you
Okay,
think about that?
that is true.
Yeah. So I think, um, and that's why I think is related to being able to take a pause and move forward with intention. Um, because when you're multitasking, one of the things that ADHD brains, especially, and probably has to do with the speed of our engine and the lack of brakes, is making transitions. So when we're multitasking, we're transitioning from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing. And every time we switch, we lose momentum on whatever thing we're working forward, trying to move forward on. So the trick is instead of trying to multitask, trying to prioritize your time in a way can that you can focus on, okay, I have four things to do. They all need to be done by the end of the day. I need to prioritize my things so that I can take care of the most important thing first and then move through the rest, but actually complete one thing at a time instead of trying to multitask.
Why do you think everything's important though? Like I have an issue with prioritizing. Let me put it this way.
Mhm,
I think in the same day, cleaning up dog poop versus going to hang out with your best friend at Burger King, they're equally important. And in my brain,
mhm,
I feel if I don't hurry up and be productive, which is great, and not take a break and go, whoo, and not talk fast, maybe even, I'm not going to get it done. I have a very hard time with
mhm,
time management too, because in my brain, I'm
mhm.
like too early or too late.
Yeah. Yeah, it's either now or not now, right? Or this there's never the right never right in the right time. Um, so lots of different issues there. And what have you ever tried? So I'll take a step back for a second. What have you tried to get yourself to sort of learn? I think it sounds like as we're digging down into like the issue might be prioritization and time management. Does that sound accurate?
It's a possibility. Let me put it that way.
Hmm.
I don't know if it is.
Hmm.
It very well could be. It may
Hmm.
not be, though. It's a very
Okay.
possibility.
All right. Well, let's take a step back and I will ask you, can you remember a day when you have prioritized in a way there you got what you needed done by the time you needed to? Not perfect. We're not going for perfection here, but when you felt pretty good about how you sort of moved through your day.
Actually, today is a great example. I had a lot to do today. I had a pre-chat in the morning, an interview right after, another meeting that got kind of canceled, and then a pre-chat, not a pre-chat, I'm sorry, a connection call, and then an interview that kind of backed out. And I figured in my brain, I got most of what I got need to be done today.
Well, that's great. So what, well, for one, I want to congratulate you on getting that done, on feeling and on recognizing that that was true. Like, oh, wait, I can do this. I did it today. So, I mean, that's a great sort of, we're often very poor at celebrating our successes. So I love hearing that you came right out with that.
Problem now,
Um,
time I can think if I didn't is maybe this will help our people watching is I was doing life coaching for a while. And this was at a
mhm,
point when I was trying to learn to drive. Well, right when we're about to go to life coaching, I spilled Dr. Pepper on the truck because I'm a klutz. Now, in my brain, I'm thinking, oh my God, because it's about time to be at my life counseling appointment or I'm going to be late. But we had this Dr. Pepper mess to clean up that I spilled. I'm trying to tell my mother, leave the stinking mess. We got an appointment. However, my mother's like, because we don't want to leave anything like a mess because you don't look like a pig in your truck, let's get to Dr. Pepper. I'm like, no, get to the life counseling.
mhm. But it's an interesting conundrum. So in that situation, which did you end up prioritizing?
Truth be told, I think we had to agree to disagree, and I just let her clean the mess up. But I was not a happy
Yeah,
camper.
yeah. Did you make it to your appointment?
I made it to the appointment, but hit the gas pedal pretty hard.
Uh-huh. So you got a chance to do both of those things. And it sounds like you had to pause because you had somebody else who was requiring you to pause and stop to think about what the order of operations needs to be. And I can see how it could have gone either way. Could have cleaned up the Dr. Pepper after the appointment. Probably wouldn't have gotten, maybe wouldn't have gotten worse. Maybe would have, I don't know. But so maybe it would have been harder to pick up after
And
the
that's my point
appointment,
too.
right?
That's
It
what I
would have been
thought.
a
It wasn't
harder
a big mess. It wasn't like the whole can spilled. It was just like half a can.
thing. Hmm. Yeah. But the point remains that what you did was you, regardless of the outcome, what you did was you stopped and discussed with your mother at this point, but in you can also do this with yourself. Stop and discuss. Well, what is the most important thing? What is truly important? One of my favorite questions is if if I don't finish this today, what will my life be like tomorrow? And in some cases, the answer is my life will be totally fine tomorrow if I don't finish this today. And in some cases, my life is going to be really hectic if I don't finish this today.
And that's where the cross line is for me. Because I feel like if I don't get it done, it's going to be hectic. I just need to
Mm-hmm.
find a way to switch my brain to be like, no, you're going to be good.
Mm, okay. But today you had some unexpected cancellations. So that was sort of those things got taken off your plate unintentionally. Like you didn't have a choice about it, right? Is that
Right.
accurate?
One was a no show, and the other we just kind of decided we'd be better off with an email.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that freed up some time for you, right? Did that free up time for you, or did that throw a cog in your day?
Well, it kind of threw a cog because I was going over. We had a to-do list. We looked over the to-do list because I have a weekly to-do list, which helps. And we looked at it and we saw go over note cards, go over some notes from a master class I took on Sunday. And one of the things was to learn how to make a video, pretty much, like a YouTube short. That took longer than expected, 3 hours to be exact, because the technology wasn't cooperating.
Mm. I've heard that a lot from people today. Wonder if Mercury's in some sort of weird position or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah. So you went through your day, but you feel still you didn't get everything done, but you still feel pretty good about how it went.
I would say so. I mean,
Hmm.
excuse me. I would say most of it got done. There's still some stuff, but I've come to learn that it's a tomorrow's problem. I think my issue comes with like I start kind of getting like hyper anxious and maybe hyper vigilant on what needs to get done today. And if I don't do it, it's going to turn to a freak show. Like, for example, my issue is when I edit a podcast, I don't like to stop. I mean, I will, but you have to remind me to stop. Like, yeah, my parents still have to say, "Oh, hey, don't forget to eat out lunch. Don't forget about to eat dinner," because if that happens, in my brain, everything's shut off because of the ADHD not prioritizing. We got to eat to live.
Right. Hmm. Yeah. So, so what about another question? So I think that that question is the first question is valid, that if this doesn't happen today, what's my life look like tomorrow? So sometimes it's, and maybe more often than not, um, it is, oh, my life tomorrow will be that much more hectic. But then can you also ask yourself, is it true that my life tomorrow is actually going to be really hectic and awful if I don't finish this today?
You see, the problem with that too, it's hard to answer because unpredictability. Everything in this
Mm-hmm.
world changes. Today, those
Mm,
cancellations, as pleasant as it was, it threw me for a loophole
right.
because
Mm-hmm.
at noon, I was expecting to have a meeting. Now it's
Right.
like, uh-oh, what do I do? Because in my brain too, because of the gas not stopping, I also get
Right.
extremely anxious when I'm not doing something. Like my
Mm-hmm.
brain does not have an off switch.
Okay.
I think that's
Right.
why I got sleep
Right.
apnea, to be honest with you.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's actually pretty common with ADHDers. I haven't figured out, I haven't found the research as to what connects them, but sleep apnea and ADHD are co-occurring conditions often. So
Well,
it's
if
an
I wasn't
interesting one.
predicting, man, it's because our brain does not have that light switch to turn off.
Hmm. Interesting. I hadn't thought about it from that side. I will, it's a definite, that's definitely really interesting. Um, so in the past though, there have been times where you didn't get things done. And though we can't predict with 100% accuracy, remember we're going for good enough. We're not looking for perfection. Because perfection, if we go for perfection on everything we do, it doesn't, we can't, we'll be constantly stuck in trying to perfect things instead of being able to move forward. So, when have you been able to prioritize your things well enough so that your next day may have been hectic, but not, you still live through it?
We'll have to think about that one for sure. But
Hmm.
man, that's a hard one. That's a good question though. Really good question.
Hmm.
All right. I want you to say it one more time so I can process it.
You want me to?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you said you were
No,
going to
you're
say it
okay.
or
You're
me.
okay.
All right. When have you decided to prioritize in such a way so that it seemed like maybe the next day was going to be, you had to leave stuff behind, right? And the next day wasn't a total shit show.
I can sure there have been times when I had to edit my show and I had to leave it behind because what I used to do was record and then I would like to edit the day after, but sometimes it just can't work out realistically because of other prioritizations. So times where I've had to leave things behind is literally the day after I record or the
Hmm.
day when I record because then
Hmm.
I schedule the editing and I'm leaving it behind until that day comes.
So that sounds like a good tool. Is that so you actually you realize you can't finish it in the time that you want to finish it, but then you scheduled it so that you knew you have time to finish it when you can. Does that help?
Kind of. I mean, it's just
You
that
don't
with
have to
and
worry
hard too
about
with
it.
timing. I think I overthink too of the
Hmm.
timing. So realistically, this episode I think might take 2 days. Or okay, actually I'll go a little more, 3 days. When in reality, it took 1 day.
Hmm.
And again, because of that change and that loophole, and my brain feeling like it's got to do something, crap.
Hmm. So then, in that case, you have scheduled 2 extra days, but it's only taken 1 day.
Right,
And so you have then 2 days where you're unscheduled.
right. And I freed up my space.
Hmm. What do you do with your space then?
Well, and that's my problem too. When I do have my space and I'm not doing anything, because I think we can relate to ADHD. We do something for a while, we get tired of it. Okay, we're gonna watch television.
Hmm.
Okay, we get tired of it. We're gonna play some
Hmm.
video games. We got tired of it. Go outside for a little bit, hang out with the cats. Got tired of it. Go swim in our neighbor's pool if it's summertime. Got tired of it. There's only so much you can do in a day.
Hmm.
And my point I'm trying to
And
get
you
to,
get, and you said,
but go ahead,
hmm.
I'm sorry.
And it sounds like you try to do lots of things still, but they're not as rewarding, or you get tired of them more than you do when you're working on, say, podcasts and stuff
Right.
like that.
And that because and when I can only do that so much, it goes right back to broadcasting. In retrospect, the way I like to think of it is the things I like to do on hobby wise, that's not this, it passes the time. That's what I'm trying to do. It might be the wrong goal, maybe. It
Hmm.
could be. I'm not trying to ask you if it is or not. It's just I'm saying it could be, but I want to enjoy the moment. I want to enjoy,
Hmm.
look at what this great weather we have. I'm at the pool, which I can do, but it's only for 5 seconds.
Hmm. Because then you're tired of it by for a
Yeah,
little bit
I'm
longer.
tired of it
You get tired of it.
after I'm tired after 30 minutes.
Hmm. What so I think we're getting a little off track, and but I think this is a really interesting conversation because um I think one of the things that our ADHD brains have a really hard time doing, as you've mentioned several times, is taking a break, right? Figuring out how do we quiet our brains. And that is actually really related to figuring out how to take a pause. Um, Now, how to take a pause, sometimes all you need is 1 second to take a pause. Um, would you like to? We've got about so we've been doing this for about 15 minutes now. We've got about half an hour left. Would you like to focus on prioritization or pausing? Have you done any mindfulness work?
Mindfulness depends on what you mean by mindfulness, dear.
I'm not talking about sitting and meditating for hours on end, I promise.
Okay. No, I would have told you heck no because I've already tried that.
Hmm. Right. I have many ADHD clients who also, and myself included, who cannot sit for hours on end. So I've learned actually fairly recently some little tips, little very fast things to do to help me sort of get out of my head and into my body. And that's the trick, is when we need to slow down, when we need to figure out how to stop thinking so fast, we need to figure out how to get out of our heads and into our bodies. So sometimes that's just taking a deep breath, a nice big deep breath. And it
I hate
doesn't
to interrupt
stop
you, but what if
everything.
deep breaths actually work you up more? Because I have this weird thing. I've actually tried deep breaths before. I have, I
Hmm.
promise you. It's just that, like, for example, kind of 10, the more I count, the more mad I get. So it's like one, two, three,
Hmm.
four, and
Hmm.
it's just, it's,
Hmm.
and I've tried deep
Yeah.
breaths, and the more breaths I take, the more I boil
Hmm.
over.
Okay. Have you tried to do it when you're not um elevated? Like, have you tried to do it like just like, oh, I have 18 things to do. I need to figure out which one to do first. Just take a couple of breaths so I can then think things through differently.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you tried? You have tried that and doesn't help.
No, I get worked up even
Okay.
when I'm not, because then when I'm not, it goes from not worked up to volcano, move out of the way. Sam's mad.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, and try to think of so I have lots of other ways that I try to do things. How do you tell when you're getting more activated? How can you tell in your body?
The littlest details throw me off for a loophole. So before, all right, let's say this computer died on me, even though I don't work. Well, it's kind of a bad example, actually. Okay, let's say I hear a noise in the exercise room. Now, typically, I would be able to tone that out. But when I'm agitated, the tone's like, you got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm. So can you notice that like can you connect that like when the noise is bothering you, that means
Yes,
you
yes,
are activated.
yes,
So you can connect those. That's really
yeah.
great. That's really self-aware. Um,
Like birds
because
chirping, that's
sometimes
a
that
great one too. Birds chirping, not mad, don't
Mhm,
notice it. Birds chirping,
mhm.
you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Often a peaceful sound and a lovely sound, but when you're activated, it makes you more elevated.
Exactly.
Hmm. Um, what about have you ever tried doing things with your body? I keep on holding my hands up like this because one of the things that I just learned to do is to just rub my fingers together. And I can see how this might elevate as well as because sometimes it's frustrating. Little movements are frustrating. But rubbing my fingertips together, I just noticed my fingers are dirty. I was in the garden right before this. Sorry about that.
You're fine.
Um, uh, rubbing my fingers together in a way that I can actually feel the ridges of my fingers.
You actually kind of just
Does
gave me an
that feel
epiphany
like,
moment, believe it or not. I hate to interrupt you, but the reason why I say it is when I get nervous, I sweat, but something else I'll do, I noticed when I had to get extremely like still for hours and hours while doing interviews and something like this, I'll start rubbing my legs.
mm,
Like,
okay.
I mean,
So
I can't,
that's
I'm
sort of
not
a
gonna lift my
calming
legs up,
motion for
but
you.
I think get the point. It's like right,
Uh-huh.
maybe here, and then it's just that. Except my knees,
Hmm.
my legs are on the floor.
Hmm. Okay. So that's really good. That's a really good like sort of self-aware. This is a movement that sort of takes me out of my head,
Yeah, I didn't
lets
notice till I
me.
do it until one day I just looked down. I'm like, huh, why am I rubbing
Hmm.
my legs all of a sudden?
Yeah. Yeah, and then you probably sometimes find yourself jiggling your knee
Yeah,
or
sometimes I like to. Sometimes if I get too still, I'll kind of like shake my legs.
mm,
It's kind of weird. It's like a little kid doesn't have to go to the bathroom. They kind of do like the little
right.
jiggle.
Hmm.
That's kind of my thing
Hmm.
I do.
Yeah, little jiggle. Yeah.
The only problem is I still do
But
that when I have to
so
pee. So it's always
yeah,
hard to tell. Does Sam have to pee or is he sitting or has he been standing sitting too long?
right. Um yeah, so the jiggle maybe is a more outward sign that you're does the jiggle calm you or is it like a sign that you're getting elevated?
It's kind of a sign of getting elevated, but it's also a way of me saying, okay, listen, I've sat here long enough. Thank you for your time. I watched the movie. I gotta move,
Hmm.
or I'm gonna hit the floor here.
Hmm. When you rub your legs, is that a sign you're getting elevated or is that self-soothing?
Well, I don't have to say self-soothing because I haven't noticed myself getting elevated for it.
Hmm.
And it's not really recent until I noticed it. So it's still kind
Hmm.
of fresh, new in the tank. But I would
Hmm.
have to say because
Okay.
of me not getting elevated with it and just noticing it, self-soothing.
Hmm. Great. So there is your pause. So my challenge for you is when you find yourself needing to stop to make a decision, to prioritize something, to think about what your tomorrow looks like if you don't do something today. Try a self-soothing thing like rubbing your legs, or I do you have other things that you do that are sort of self-soothing when you're sort of getting anxious?
Well, here's my thing. I accept your challenge, first of all. But what am I supposed to do if I'm standing? Because it's kind of weird to
Mhm.
stand, in my view, and go,
Right.
because then
Yep,
it just
that
looks
would be
like you got
awkward.
a bad leg injury, or it
Uh-huh.
honestly looks like you're doing something
Yeah.
kind of odd.
Yeah. So, so I think probably it makes sense to think about a few different things that are like for different positions. Like, so if you're standing, um, so you're in a more active place than when you're standing because you're already up. What can you do to, so the like frenetic movement, I think probably, my guess is gets you more elevated, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So, but is there some calming movement? So you can also rub your fingers
I
on your
had done
palm.
that before, actually, but I haven't found one yet. I'm still working on that one, but this may or
Hmm.
may not help get to where I could find one. So
Hmm.
I definitely like amusement parks, but, and there's a point why I'm mentioning this, I promise. I hate waiting in the lines. You can imagine because you're standing still. It's
Hmm.
not because of the time. It used to be, but not anymore. It's just because I'm standing still, and after about 30 minutes, it feels like I'm standing on rocks. So what I do is I'll stand in the line, right?
Hmm.
And got a toy in the way, a fidget toy. I'm kind of moving out of the way. But I'll stand in the line, and then what I'll do is, so maybe there's a little spot right here. Sometimes I'll shift my leg over, maybe take a step forward. I won't bump into the person and go, oh, excuse me,
Hmm.
but I'll just take a small step there.
Hmm.
Or
Yeah.
sometimes, if it's to the right, not bump into the person, but like take a small step there.
Hmm.
Sometimes it does, again, the jiggling. It kind of goes back to the jiggling
Hmm.
too. Kind of like, I gotta pee, but in reality, again, not peeing, just need to move.
Hmm. Yeah. So do those movements feel like they might help you sort of like get out of like out of your head and into your body a little bit of a place where you can say, okay, this is where I'm at, and I need to think through it in a in a quieter, like not in a, I call it my bulldozer mode. You talk about the fast car going super fast. I call it my bulldozer. I just like can go through any wall. I can get through anything. I'm just gonna push on through. But it doesn't do me any good to keep doing that because the bricks start falling on my head.
Yep.
Um, or in your case, you go through a stoplight and you get smashed, right? So we all need to find a way to take a pause. And it's got to be one that works for our bodies, right? It needs to work for our brains and our bodies. Otherwise, you know, otherwise it doesn't, it just makes things worse, not better. So I love that just sitting here, we've figured out two things that might really help you sort of get out of that, move forward ahead at all costs versus, okay, so once you've gotten to a place where you can stop and rubbed your legs a little bit or jiggled around or switched your weight on your feet a little bit, taken a step or two, what do you think what do you think your next step should be?
I honestly think just using them more and but being aware of it because I've done the jiggles, I've done the
Mhm.
shifting the weight, and I've done the rubbing the legs. It's just
Mhm.
that I need to be more mindful and just see, oh, okay, right now rubbing the legs means that I'm, you know, relaxing right now. Or the weight, that just means, oh, I'm a little fidgety right now. Or the jiggles,
Mhm.
oh gosh, I'm getting worked up here.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
just need to look and just be mindful and not just
Mhm.
be like, oh, jiggle my legs. I'm like, okay, I'm jiggling my legs. Move it, people.
Mhm. Yep. Or um I'm jiggling, so maybe I'll stop jiggling and I'll rub my legs instead. You see if how that see what that does. Like see if there's a difference between the movements. Like maybe the jiggling starts getting you elevated, but the rubbing your legs might bring you down in a place where you can be like, okay, now I can think through this in a more in a sort of a slower manner.
Right. And there's always the option to even think of if I'm jiggling my legs at an amusement park, sometimes there's typically a railing where, although you shouldn't sit at, I'm probably going to have to bend that rule a little bit and maybe sit down and
Hmm.
just rub the legs.
Hmm.
That's always an option.
Yeah, good. So it sounds like you have a really busy schedule. You have a lot of appointments on a day-to-day basis, um, and that you like it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What do you do for fun? I've heard that sometimes when you have unexpected days that are days off, you have a hard time having fun during those times. I
Right.
did talk to you, you did mention something about visiting your friends at Burger King. You mentioned, liking the pool for a short period of time. What do you do for fun to relax?
Oh, yeah. Well, professional wrestling, I've always watched that. Rock and roll music, and that's what's been the biggest helpful with ADHD too, is music. When I'm not doing anything, I feel like I can focus on something. And this may be or may not be a problem. I won't say which one just because out of privacy. I do take a medication, an ADHD medication, that does make my brain focus, like hyper focus. And I've
Hmm.
had to have it or it's panic mode. And I'm not saying I want to change it. It's just telling you, like, it makes me hyper focus and maybe go from C's and D's in school to A's and B's. And I'm going to probably continue to use that throughout my job so I can focus and maybe not have to
Yeah, yeah.
jiggle the legs
It,
as
it's
much.
amazing. Hmm. Yeah, it's amazing how medication, how effective it can be for some people. Actually, up to almost 80% of people are really benefited by ADHD medication. Um, and there are a whole array of so if your medication keeps you in hyper focus too much, then you can talk about other kinds of medications with your doctor, and then sometimes you can play around with it so that instead of like taking a medication that makes you zoom in and not get out until the medication's worn out, there are other there are other mixtures that can then help sort of moderate that as well. So it sounds like it's working well for you right now. And I appreciate that that's what you're finding. I just wanted to let you know that there are other
Right.
medications,
And I'm aware of it
multiple
for
kinds of
sure. I'm
medications
not
with
going
its
to like
possibility.
close the door on it's this medicine or nothing. It's just this is what's been working for me since
Mhm.
fourth grade.
Yeah, okay, that's great. No need to change it then. I've actually been on the same medication. I've added a couple of things in over time to deal with anxiety, but I've been on the same ADHD meds for 25 years and they still work great for me. So I definitely appreciate when a medication's working and don't no need to switch it up.
Yeah, there's literally no point other than trying something new. But why do you want to try new
Mhm.
medicine? I mean, all you're doing is taking a risk.
Yeah. So what do you do for fun?
Well, the
You
wrestling for
said
sure.
rock and roll
Roll.
and
Oh, duh, I didn't even
wrestling.
think of this one. Traveling. I've always been a big traveling guy. I like to go on
Nice.
vacation. And it's very odd. You'd be very pleased. It's maybe the ADHD or not, but used to, I went to San Antonio. This was when I was a kid. Texas, I had an itinerary. And as stressful as it was, I felt like I needed to do that because in my brain, it was like, it's not going to go smooth if we don't have one. Well, my parents advised me, they didn't say to do it, they was advising me, why not throw the itinerary, go with the flow, man, see how it goes. Now I was a little hesitant at first, but then I was like, well, okay, let's see how it goes. Went to Destin, better vacation because I wasn't expecting
Yeah.
it and things could change. And the ADHD wasn't there almost.
Mm, that's a really interesting observation. So when you're really feeling like you're having a great time and things are going really well, you don't feel like dysregulated or ADHD. Um, that's definitely not a word, ADHD, but
I
I
get
think
what
you
you
probably
mean,
know what I mean. um,
right?
you don't feel that like when you're really sort of in your happy place.
Right. And another example is I can think of for traveling wise. I went to Washington, D.C. actually for a school trip, and they had you moving everywhere. That was fun. But if you are like me, who wants to see it and look at it, take time to read, and you got places to go, you can't do it all the time. We went to the Smithsonian American Museum. I did not get much from it because in my brain, I was
Mhm.
thinking, ooh, I got to read all of this ADHD here so we can get to our next
Mhm.
destination.
Yeah, yeah. So you like to be able to take the right amount of time for you to get through things.
Right. And sometimes it may be a little longer because I like to say I like to learn at a B track pace. So it may take for
Yeah.
someone to read some for 3 hours. For me, it's 5 hours.
Mhm. Yes, it is very important for us all to know, and I appreciate it. You seem to really know, um, or you have be very self-aware about how you move best through the world. Um, and you also seem to have some really great tools for dealing with it when you can't move at your best through the world. Um, so our time is up, although I usually often, almost always, go an extra 15 minutes because I always forget that time's um time is I also have time blindness. Um so we found some tools for you to try and figure out how to get into the moment a little bit into your body so that you can sort of assess your situation. How what do you feel like we've gotten to a place where you've at least found some things that will be helpful for you?
Oh, yeah. Like I said, I'm just going to be more aware of what I do.
Yeah, okay. And how are you going to remember? Because one of our ADHD challenges is sometimes forgetting that we have an intention.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Until I thought of it really hard in depth, like I did just a few minutes ago, I didn't realize
Mhm.
jiggling was a sign of, oh boy, Sam is getting worked up here. He's got to move his body. Now I know. Okay, I look at my legs here. I'm jiggling. People, move it.
All right. Good. So you have some signs and you have some things to do to de-escalate. Sometimes it's moving your body, and sometimes it's just a gentler movement, like moving like rubbing your legs or something like that.
Right.
Right. Great. Okay. So what are you going to take away from today?
Well, I'm going to take away from today for sure that during my ADHD moments, I can realize not every day is going to be the same, and I can see things change. I'm going to see that, well, not everything has to get done in one day. And jiggling means, again, move out of the way, but I'm going to utilize resting my legs more to my advantage instead of it being like, stop it.
Mm, great. Good. Well, I really look forward to hearing how those things work for you. Um, And if you I would be more than happy to, because we had talked about I give everybody a free discovery call. So if you would like one more session, I would be more than happy to do that with you. Um, because because I'm offering a free session to you. Which this is just everybody gets a free session. So
Right. Well, I might take you up on that. It just might have to be later down the road.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that's just fine. I've enjoyed talking with you today, and I look forward to hopefully talking with you again soon.
All right.